with an update on Seth Rollins' injury and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Asked if he thinks he will wrestle in WWE, Nick Aldis told Alex McCarthy of Mail Online, "Anything is possible in the WWE. I deeply appreciate all of the fans who keep me alive in that regard, who want to see me in the ring with this person or that person. Since my interaction with Roman, that started a whole different conversation in that regard. I'm just grateful that there's an interest in it. At the same time, I'm fully committed to being the best general manager of all time, so I'll cross that bridge if I come to it." Aldis then said this regarding a dream match. "I watched Money in the Bank. I particularly remember John Cena coming out and saying that we needed a WrestleMania to take place in London. And I will say this, if that were to happen, which it will, I'm very confident of that. I don't have any intel on it, but you don't say something like that without there being intention. If that were to happen, I would certainly do everything I could to be a good fit for that show. It all comes down to timing and opportunity and what the fans want to see, and if the fans want to see it. The opportunity is there, and it's good for business. Never say never." Revealing how his debut for TNA came together, former WWE star Nic Nemeth told TNA on Instagram, "I wasn't focused on moveset TNA Hard to Kill, and I wasn't even focused on the championship, which I've thought about nonstop for a long time. Like I said, I go, where can I pinpoint the moment where people will make it the most memorable? I did 20 years in one company. I get one chance to make a second impression here on the world. That will be the biggest possible moment and most talked about, I really think that helps myself and the company. I didn't have a plan. Moose is in my target. I got him. I was watching that title match going, whoever wins, I'm sliding in there and going, here I am, let's go. So I don't exactly know what my focus is other than I have earned everything that I've worked for to a point where I go, I don't want to stroll in here and be like, hey, I showed up through the crowd, so you got to give me a title shot, or I'm famous, so I get a, no, I wanted to make my mark there. And now I focus on where can I fit in? Where can I start building blocks to make myself to where I'm not presenting it, but the world goes, this should be the #1 contender, and here's why. Then when that happens, I'll know that I'll be able to sleep at night going, I have proven myself worthy of a title shot. Okay, now let's focus on the champion." Talking about wanting to call Sting's last match with Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross noted on his Grilling Chair podcast. "It seems to be that it just makes sense that the original two guys that called the very first Sting Flair match, if they were available and could still carry their share of their water, would be a good opportunity. I mentioned it to Tony Khan. He loved the idea. My problem is not that. My problem is my contract is up February 14th, which I've mentioned ad nauseum. That event is in March, so we got to take care of some business, and I'm sure that we will. I feel good about where I'm headed with Tony and AEW. I'd love to have something to announce before the 14th if possible. We're still at the same place right now," Ross said about his contract talks. "I gotta get there contractually to be able to pull that off. I'm not using it as a leverage ploy. It just seemed like it makes sense. I think the best booking is booking this logically, and having JR and Schiavone call the match to me seems logical. So we'll see how it all works out. It's going to work out the way it's supposed to be, and we'll see how it goes from there, but I'm happy with the way things are moving along. I don't get out of my place here very much. I'm having a little issue driving because my diabetes is starting to have some effect on my eyesight. If it's not one thing, it's another. What a pain in the ass I'm becoming. I mean, I'm fine right now, but at night, driving, get the hell off the road. So I stay at home. It's like driving bumper cars. I'm going to hit something. My depth perception is the shits right now, but I'm getting that addressed. It's nothing I can't handle or nothing that doesn't happen to other people that have diabetic issues. My blood sugar is down and good. Everything's great." addressing the potential for a return to WWE, Mandy Rose said on her Power Alphas podcast, "I can't say for sure whether I'll ever return to WWE. I don't have a crystal ball to predict the future. Right now, I'm enjoying my life. We're about to get married and we have many exciting plans, trips, and projects in the works." That's my answer. You should never say never. I will say that if I were to consider a return, it would be for my fans. I know you all miss me and I miss you too. Staying on the topic of possible WWE comebacks, NWA World's Heavyweight Champion EC3 said this about making a return to the company, telling Chris Van Vliet on the Insight podcast, "I'm so thoroughly content with building what we're building right now. I'm very on board. I feel very much that I could be a gear in the strongest machine possible. Or I can sink or swim being a catalyst to build something for the future. How much are they paying? No, I believe it's what we're doing. I believe in WPC. They put me in a great position, not just champion, but sort of like, I don't know, I guess I'm a locker room leader and things like that, and being able to help cultivate the future intrigues me greatly, especially because I'm still in my prime and I could beat everybody." With him facing criticism due to having Griff Garrison and Lee Moriarty as opponents recently, Adam Copeland said this about it on Busted Open Radio. "Anything I do at this stage of life has to be fun or I'm not going to do it. Wrestling was the first love and it always will be. That can never be taken away. I still find so much fun. The minute it stops being fun is the minute I need to be done, because it was taken away from me the first time, and then to come back and have this whole new generation of talent that I've never performed with or got in there with. It's fun. I've repeatedly said how much fun I'm having. That's what it boils down to. No matter what I'm doing, I'm having fun, or I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be wrestling Griff Garrison if I didn't find the fun in that. I wouldn't be wrestling Lee Moriarty if I didn't find the fun in that. It's just a blast. This may sound like a lie, but I'm at a stage in life where if it's not fun, I don't need the money. I know that sounds really bad, but I was always really smart. I still drive a pickup truck. I don't waste my money. It hurt too much to make. If I'm doing it, it's purely for the joy of it." Touching on the possibility of Mercedes Mone making the jump to AEW, Eric Bischoff said on his 83 Weeks podcast, "I don't know her motivation. I mean, she's going to make more money and have more success in WWE. There's no question about that. So, from a financial point of view, it's a WWE move. Now, is there going on backstage or relationship-wise? Is there political baggage there that is clouding the picture? I don't know. But if I'm her or I'm her agent or business manager, I'm going to try to go to WWE because that's where she's going to make the largest amount of money. Could she make more money with Tony Khan? Yes, but her career as a star is effectively over at that point. And if one doesn't agree with that statement, look at any other former WWE star that is better off today than they were at the peak of their careers in WWE. I'm not talking about the guys who were on their way out the door or the guys that really, hadn't been used very often. I'm talking about people that were at their peak of their careers in WWE. They make that move to AEW. Their career is not what it was. It's the end of the road. But if the end of the road comes with a big old fat paycheck so you don't need any more road, I'd be right there with you. I'd do the same thing. As it was previously reported that Seth Rollins got injured during his match on Raw this week, Wade Keller provided more insight into this, saying on the PW Torch podcast, "Connecting some dots, I am thinking it's not good news, but I don't know how bad the news is. The reason for that is I've asked a bunch of people, and some of whom would likely be privy to what's going on, who won't comment. I understand there's internal policies on that, but I would think if he was fine and he walked it off, then we'd be hearing that. Now it's possible they're going to do a story on television because the news of Seth's injury has gone crazy. I don't know how many dozens of websites quoted my breaking news story on Monday night, but obviously people who are on social media media and Reddit know about the fact that he was legitimately hurt and limping backstage, and everyone quoted my reports on that. They could be doing a storyline where they're going to play into that on TV and go from a situation where Seth's knee is not that bad and play it up as if it is as some sort of storyline. So I'm throwing that out there as a caveat to the hunch that I'm getting from colleagues of his and other people in WWE. They either think it's bad news and WWE's going to probably have Seth announce something on TV, or they're just waiting for more test results to get something more definitive. But they want to control the narrative on him at this point because people who know aren't commenting. I just think people who do know would go, oh, he's fine, it's no big deal. Blown out of proportion if that was the case. This is my long-winded way of saying I don't know, but I'm passing along transparently from one of the wrestlers who was around him Monday night after Raw and just said, I don't think it's good. My gut says injury. Maybe he'll work through it. He's tough. Another colleague of his said that he thought Seth, because of his history of injuries, would have a good idea if he should finish a match with the injury and if he should be walking on it backstage. Because he finished the match and because he was able to walk on it, that it might be one of those situations where he just needs to rest it for a few weeks. But even that wrestler wasn't ruling out that it could be worse. Going over his experience thus far as the general manager for SmackDown, Nick Aldis told the Daily Mail, I've been having a blast. I've come in blessed with the gift of managed expectations. I had sort of made peace with the idea that maybe WWE was never going to be on the cards for me at all, so I certainly have come in with a level of gratitude that I perhaps wouldn't have had as a guy in his 20s. I came in on a day rate, tryout as a producer behind the scenes, which I, again, had fully made peace with the idea of if that's going to be my job, then that's going to be my job, and I'll do that job to the best of my ability, because I decided that at this point in my life and my career, I wanted to contribute to the big leagues. That may be because I put in my 10,000 hours. I felt like I had done enough and had enough experience, enough expertise, and my own unique sort of philosophy and my own track record of success in the wrestling business that I was ready to work at the top level. I felt one way or another that my skill set as a professional was best suited to be contributing to the number one company. I finished up with the NWA, and at that time, I decided that if there was any kind of opportunity whatsoever with WWE, that was where I wanted to be. I felt like I'd done everything I could do at a place with limited resources and just decided one way or another that I wanted a chance to contribute there. I had no expectations really about possibly having an increased role at WWE. I had no idea whether or not Hunter had any idea of who I was or what I had done or what I was capable of doing, and why would he? He's got a lot going on. I think it was in Hershey, it was the night that John Cena came back. We were in the production meeting and Bruce Pritchard pulled me out of the meeting and asked me how I was feeling physically because they had an idea for you for a character. And that was that. They didn't mention anything more about it for a few weeks. I suppose at that point, I started thinking logically about what it could be, so I started sort of preparing, and then a few weeks later, he called again and said the SmackDown general manager, and I was like, yes, please, where do I sign? It was a very, very easy deal to get done. I love the prospects. I remember getting off the phone and talking to Mickie James about it right away, and she was just like, oh my God, yes, you'll be great at that. I've been very blessed that they've given me some good opportunities to show what I can do, and I feel like I've delivered the character in a way that's sort of different. I do think there's been some really great authority figures over the years, but I think the ones who people remember are the ones who sort of did it in their own unique way. Eric Bischoff, Teddy Long, Stephanie McMahon. I had a vision of what this character could be, and that's what you're starting to see now on TV. Following his release from WWE, Elias, under the name Elijah, will be taking on Speedball Mike Bailey for Wrestling Revolver on February 17th in Grand Prairie, Texas. Speaking about possibly receiving a WWE Hall of Fame induction, Perry Saturn told Signed by Superstars, sure, if they invited me, I would go into WWE Hall of Fame. No, I don't have a great relationship with WWE. I was part of a lawsuit against them. We lost, but from the CTE, so I'm sure they won't be calling me. Vince McMahon, I got along great with Vince, and trouble is when I worked there, I was a bad drug addict. I I was bad on drugs, so I was, but Paul's a great guy. I have nothing negative to say about him for sure. He's awesome and he would help me out any way he could, but at the time I was unhelpable. Talking about his relationships with his brother Cody Rhodes and their late father Dustin Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes said this to Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. "My dad, myself, and my brother were three different men, but we all love the fans, we love the business, and we take a lot of pride in protecting the Rhodes name. Cody is on fire. This is his time. I'm very happy for him. We're carrying on the legacy, which is very special to us. I hope Cody's in the main event spot against Roman, or it's going to be The Rock. If it is The Rock, I'm pissed. This is Cody's time. He is becoming the face of the company, and it's paying off. But I get it. If it is The Rock, it's still good business. I understand that there are a lot of people who love seeing The Rock, but I still think it's Cody's moment." Revealing how sobriety has been a huge help for him, Dustin Rhodes said during that same interview, "My sobriety, that's my legacy, and I understand it's okay to have bad days. There will be better ones. Life has been an incredible teacher. I've learned a lot, and I plan on being clean and sober for the rest of my life. I wasn't seeing clearly back in the day, and I paid for it heavily. Sometimes I'm still trying to prove to myself, even when I don't need to. I came out the other side. The devil is still sitting here, right on my shoulder. Alls I need to do is walk with him. But each new day, I tell him, no, I'm going to be good today, so I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do drugs. I have my together, and I'm fixing to get on with my life." After a clip was posted by Kevin Scampoli where he called Kayla Braxton a rape baby, she would respond writing, "Not sure how someone can be so miserable to go on a public platform and say these things, but I feel so sad for this person. Never heard of him, but he's probably so empty. He clearly wanted to hurt me, but all he's got is my sympathy. Man, sad." She then put up an excerpt from her autobiography. "I smile a lot because I'm sad. The earliest picture I've seen of me as a baby, I was smiling. But why? What did I have to smile about? My mother didn't always walk the straight and narrow. I like to joke about how I've been to jail, but what I mean is my mother was pregnant with me while one of her stints behind bars. She gave birth to me and handed me off to a friend until she could take care of me again. What did I have to smile about? My mom wasn't bad. She honestly was great. She always made sure myself and my siblings felt loved by her. I loved her so much. But my mom, well, the decisions she made were far from good. I currently don't know all the details perfectly, just what she's told me. So let me start with the night that has forever altered my life. My mom has always been pretty. Actually, from what I've been told, pretty is an understatement. Men fell over her, but she never seemed to choose the men worthy of her attention. And even back then, my mom had issues with the law. One night, she made the decision to break probation by spending an evening in a hotel with her then boyfriend. What she thought was a romantic getaway turned into a nightmare. She learned that her boyfriend's intentions for this little rendezvous was actually a setup to let his friends have sex with her. She understandably was pissed upon learning this and stormed out. This is when she found a party going on in the hotel lobby and quickly made friends. Specifically hit it off with two men. I mean, duh. She was a knockout. She had one drink. And then it was morning and she was awake and alone in an empty hotel room. This was the night I was conceived. I was 12 when I learned I was a product of rape. At the time, I had already been living with my new foster family and my mother had just finished serving a 3-year prison sentence. I was finally allowed to see her. We met in a park. I remember walking with her almost in disbelief that I was with her again. I missed her so much. She told me she wanted to tell me a story. We walked towards a gazebo while making small talk. I vividly remember seeing a used tampon lying on the ground and made a fuss about it. I had just started my period for the first time right before seeing her, and she should have been there for that moment. She missed the moment I became a woman. She would also post this video.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for enduring my oversharing potentially about what's been happening the last few weeks with some scumbags. Speaking of scum, Kevin Scampoli, is it? I think it's Scampoli. This is the last he's gonna hear from me directly. But I do, Kev, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are because you're clearly obsessed with me, Poor kid. I have just received a full background check report on you. And oh, buddy, now it all makes sense. I'm going to keep it for a rainy day. And you know what? It's actually, I think it's raining outside, so maybe today's the day. So, just watch out, buddy. All right. I'm sure you'll be watching me on SmackDown. Enjoy.
Bringing up a match that he would be interested in having, Randy Orton told WWE's The Bump, "A dream match for me would be to somehow find myself in a situation where I'm fighting Cena at WrestleMania for the title. I don't know how you get there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I've never wrestled John at WrestleMania in a singles match. So then we had some wars back in the day, so being able to revisit that after all this time. I think it's not only something that I would want, it's something that fans would eat it up too." For the latest information regarding Seth Rollins and the injury he suffered, Ringside News wrote, "WWE fans received concerning news as Seth Rollins, the reigning heavyweight champion, suffered a knee injury during the main event of Raw. Rollins valiantly defended his title against Jinder Mahal, but sustained the injury in the process. Although the full extent of the Visionary's injury remains uncertain, one thing is clear: he will not be participating in this weekend's house show events. To allow him to recuperate, Randy Orton will step in as his replacement." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.